Okay, so I've just listened to President Barack Obama talking about the humanitarian crisis in Iraq, and he's saying, you know, we're going to drop aid. First they were going to drop aid, and then they realised you can't make all that much money out of dropping aid, so now they're going to drop bombs. Because that would definitely help the situation. You've got people's... He's saying there's a humanitarian crisis because you've got 40,000 people on top of this mountain and they're starving to death. They've got no water, no food. They've got no medical supplies, no shelter. He says this is a humanitarian crisis. The world must act. The United States must act. I cast my mind back maybe a week. I think, what other humanitarian crisis was it where you had loads of people starving and dehydrating? Oh yeah, that was it, Gaza City. I mean, can you not see the parallel? There's almost 2 million people in Gaza City who are starving, no water, no electricity, no medical supplies, no food, and they're getting bombed. At least the people on top of this mountain aren't getting bombed at the same time. I just don't understand the double standards. I don't understand why one humanitarian crisis is so important and the other humanitarian crisis is just an excuse, basically. You know, we want to go over there and drop bombs. So let's find something bad to talk about that'll make people go, oh, you know, well, at least they're helping someone. Why don't they go and help? If they wanted to be like the world police, go and police Israel. I'm pretty sure you would win a lot of friends if you stopped Israel committing, not even the bombing, the siege on Gaza City. It was probably what is more detrimental to the health of Gazans is the siege. You've got people living in poverty and disease and hunger and thirst, which doesn't make any sense. The reason that they won't help Palestine is because, you know, they haven't got any money. If Palestine was oil rich and was willing to buy fuckloads of arms off America, you know, I'm pretty sure they'd be sending bombs and guns over there left, right and centre. But in Iraq, America are fighting against themselves. They're arming up. They just the other week promised to arm more rebels in Syria, but they can't see the parallel between arming rebels in Syria and guns ending up in the hands of ISIS in Iraq, which they're now going to bomb. It just doesn't make any sense. I remember when they invaded Iraq and the media was like gagging to show us images of weapons of mass destruction. You know, show how bad it was before. They couldn't find any pictures of weapons of mass destruction, so we kept seeing these pictures of like junk piles of AK-47, like literally the height of small houses of just AK-47 that they confiscated, and they said they were going to melt them down or whatever. And I think all those guns that they took away have just been replaced with American guns now. You've got people shooting each other with guns made in factories in America, like 7,000 miles away in the Middle East. How's that even possible? I mean, if they want to really, really care about humanitarian causes, stop flooding the area with guns. It doesn't matter who you give the guns to. You could give the guns to the fucking vicar and the saint. But once that vicar and the saint has been killed, or changes his mind of who he's going to fight for, or just gets robbed, you know, those guns are in the hands of someone else now. You keep on pumping weapons into an area. Eventually they're going to end up in the hands of the wrong people. Eventually that will happen. There's no two ways about it. If you put guns in an area, if you've got no guns, if there's 100 people and they've got 0 guns, the chances of anyone getting shot is 0. As soon as you put a gun in that 100 people, the chances of instantly going from 0 to whatever. Like, it's just basic internet. It just you don't want to keep sending them more and more guns, more and more. You've got the Iraqi army that the Americans spent millions arming up, training. You know, you probably had private contractors, Americans arms firms winning contracts, you know, mercenary armies, private armies, training these people up for a profit. They're getting paid by the American government and by the Iraqi government. They're being paid to train these people to turn them into killers. And now they've all deserted. The Iraqi army have given up they've either given up their post or they've given up their uniform and still fight, but for someone else. And all these guns, I hear something like 20,000 Iraqi troops just left their posts, tanks, armoured cars, guns, just gone. And then they left there, ISIS just moved in, picked up all these weapons. You know, you've just got an army created overnight. America think, you know, bombing these people is going to make a difference. You can't bomb an ideology. That's what they need to understand when you're fighting against fundamentalists and, you know, people who you're trying to remove from their own country. You can't bomb an ideology. You can't bomb Islam. You can't bomb fundamentalist Islam. You can't bomb. You can bomb Gaza, but you will never turn it anything else but Gaza. It will always be Gaza. You can bomb the Palestinians, but that's not going to stop them from being Palestinian. You know, you need to use diplomacy. We try to sit down and talking to someone, but that's all they want to do. I mean, these weapons companies seem to control America. They'll sell arms to anyone. I mean, they've been funding ISIS, they've been funding Syrian rebels, they've been funding an Iraqi army. You know, look at all the bloodshed that's caused. They've been funding Israel. Look at all the bloodshed that's caused. And then you've got Vladimir Putin, gives a little bit of money and arms to, bearing in mind what America's doing is funding people thousands of miles away from their own borders. America on the other side of the world, completely isolated to all this, whereas Russia arming a small bunch of rebels who are fighting, they were going to fight anyway. Those rebels in Kiev, regardless, they would have fought with sticks and stones if they had to. You got Russia arming up people, effectively defending Russia's borders. What they're doing, defending their own motherland's border. And Europe are like, no, you can't do that, sanctions, just ignore what's going on in Israel, ignore what's going on in Syria, ignore what's going on in Iraq, but you can't arm up a small army of rebels on your own border. No, you're not allowed to do that, sanctions. It's just sickening double standards. I mean, how do they expect us not to realise it's double standards? They must think we're fucking idiots. Pretty sure they do think that. If you really care about a humanitarian crisis, Barack Obama, end the fucking siege in Gaza.